Good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our meeting of the Transportation, Energy, and Utilities Committee. We do not yet have a full quorum of the committee, but we got some stragglers coming in, but I do not want to delay the presentation that JTA is here to give. We'll go ahead with introductions, and then we'll kick off the presentation. So, Mr. Russell.
All right, Brandon Russell, Council Research.
Carla Schell, Office of General Counsel.
Edward Linsky, Council Auditor's Office.
Good morning, Reginald Gaffney Jr., District 8.
Good morning, Jacoby Pittman, District 10.
Will Lane in District 3, and we have quorum now.
Good morning, Matt Carlucci at large, Group 4.
Good morning, Roy Diamond, District 13, the Beaches, just visiting.
Joe Carlucci, District 5, just visiting. Steve Casada. Can you help me get logged in here? Sorry. All right, thank you.
Ron Salem, Group 2 at large, and I could use some assistance as well.
Michael Boylan, District 6, just visiting, ditto.
All right, good morning. Thank you, colleagues, for joining us this morning. So the way the meeting's going to go, we're going to do the JTA presentation first. We're going to put 20 minutes on the clock. Following that, we'll do public comment if we have any, and then we'll take up the agenda. We only have one action item. Everything else is on second read today, so should have plenty of time to knock that out. So with that, I'll hand it off to you, Mr. Ford, to start the presentation.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman Lannon, members of the TEU committee, staff, members of the public. I'm Nat Ford, CEO of the Jacksonville Transportation Authority, and thank you for your invitation today to share with you the fare modification pilot program that we are launching on February 1st. Since the JTA board approved this pilot program at our December board meeting, we've held a series of 8 community meetings across Duval County, as well as meetings with the Jacksonville Transportation Advisory Committee for the Disabled, as well as the Mayor's Disability Council to share the changes to our fare structure. We had over 146 people attend these meetings where we shared with them the details of this program and to gain their feedback as well as input related to those changes. The majority of those in attendance were customers that use our paratransit Connection Plus services. As you are aware, the JTA proposed to consolidate this premium private ride service offered through Connection Plus to merge that into our overall shared ride connection service due to the exponential rise in cost of that program since 2019 when we launched it. Through that process, the JTA listened to the customers of this program and made a pivot to keep Connection Plus by modifying the amount that customers pay towards the total cost of that trip, which we will share with you in detail later today in this presentation. Jessica Shepler, our Senior VP of Public Affairs, will walk through the pilot program, and she's joined by Jeff Smith, who's our Chief Operating Officer, and Heather Obora, who is our Chief Financial Officer. They're both here in the attendance, and we look forward to answering any questions you may have at the conclusion of the presentation. So with that, let me call Jessica up, and she'll walk you through this presentation rather quickly so we have plenty of time for questions and answers. Jessica?
Good morning, Chairman Lannon, members of the Transportation and Energy and Utilities Committee, visiting council members as well. Thank you for the opportunity to walk through this presentation. This year we kicked off our Better Together campaign. This was an effort that began towards the end of last year, where we really wanted to take a look at what our customers were saying through our survey process that we go through, and really wanted to have a shared effort going into the new year on really enhancing our public transportation services and our customer experience. And so with that, I'm going to get going and walk you through this presentation, give you an overview of what this pilot program looks like, and then I'm going to get into the more specific difference between our Connection and Connection Plus, give you a little bit of background and information on how we got to where we are with Connection and Connection Plus, and then, as Mr. Ford indicated, here to answer any questions that you may have. So with that, we kicked off this year as part of the Better Together program in offering lower fares to our customers over a 6-month process. So the goal in doing that was to really offer that lower fare to our customers, make it more efficient for them in paying that lower fare, pulling out $1 instead of $1 and then, rummaging for change or whatever the case may be. Wanted to improve the customer experience in the onboarding process, so utilizing that $1 to get onto the service, get to your seat, and then, take off in a quicker way. We also wanted to, which would obviously lead to hopefully even better on-time performance in our public transportation services. Here's a quick look at Steve. This is not staying on. Do I just need to keep Steve? Okay. It keeps switching back to the windows. All right, it's back up now. This is a quick look at what the pilot fare program is going to look like. Obviously, the single trip goes from $1.75 to $1. And then the associated passes that we sell alongside our single pass, that will correlate with that reduction. In addition, as I mentioned, the $3 fare on our connection service is going down to $2 per trip. As part of this pilot program, we're looking at expanding our current fare policy to allow for additional ways to pay, for our customers to pay their fares, such as Apple, utilizing their credit and debit cards when they get on board the bus. Currently, we accept cash, tickets, we have our mobile app, we have a cash app, and then we utilize our Star cards. So just expanding those options for the convenience of our customers is something that we're looking at implementing this year.
And I don't know where Steve is, but yeah, we keep on losing the presentation on our screens. Okay. All right, it's up now. Hopefully it stays. Nope.
As a bit of background, just to kind of give you an idea, the last modification to our fares that we made was in 2019, where we took our single trip ride from $1.50 to $1.75. Prior to that, the last modification to fares occurred in 2012. So just kind of wanted to give you that background on what our fare modifications have been at the JTA over the years.
Ms. Shepler, let's just take a breather for a second so we can get this figured out. Because I realize it's highly distracting for everyone the way it's going back and forth right now. Get in the queue, Mr. Diamond.
Well, see, every time I click, it goes back to. I don't have any hard copies with me. I think it seems to be working fine. I can get you a copy of the presentation, though, afterwards. We did a run-through prior to, so yeah, seems to be working. One of the other changes that we're looking at as part of this, as part of our fare policy change, the JTA is looking at adjusting our fare policy to be more flexible to meet the changes of the needs of our customers and so forth. Such as removing the 10% cap that we have on fares. So what happens after the pilot? So this is a 6-month pilot, as we stated. It begins February 1st. We are going to, over the coming months, we're going to be measuring how pricing influences our ridership, whether that drives an increase in ridership. Typically, within the industry, there is a correlation between reducing rates and fares to the amount of ridership. There is an increase as you reduce fares. So we're going to be monitoring that and how that sort of industry standard is applying here locally for our customers and citizens in Jacksonville. And then our board is setting up a subcommittee to really review the data and the performance indicators around this program, such as on-time performance, the ridership numbers, what our fare collection is, and so forth. And that's going to be on all of our public transportation services. So now I'm going to go into Connection and Connection Plus. This is a presentation that we shared with the community as we went out to those 8 public meetings to really share with them what we were doing with this program. As Mr. Ford indicated earlier, we had planned to consolidate the Connection Plus back into our Connection service based on the enhancements that we had made to Connection over the last couple of years. We heard from the citizens that this was a very important program to them, and so we went back to the community and said, okay, we will continue providing Connection Plus, but at the modified rates, which I'll go through with you on this part of the presentation. So first of all, I want to talk a little bit about the differences between our Connection program and our Connection Plus program. So our Connection program is the federally required paratransit service that we perform on behalf of the city of Jacksonville. At one point, the city of Jacksonville handled those responsibilities and then asked the JTA to take over being the transportation provider here in the city. This service provides door-to-door shared public transportation for people with disabilities who are functionally unable to use fixed route services for some or all of their transportation needs. I do want to share what door-to-door service means. It is basically for this population of our community, not only do we pull up into their driveway, but those that require additional care, we go to their door, the operators go to their door and help them get situated within the vehicle, and then at their point of destination, the operator will then assist that individual to their doctor's appointment, to their place of work, to school. And so I wanted to just kind of share with you what that elevated level of service is within our door-to-door program. Our Connection Plus program was launched in 2019. This particular program was launched in order to supplement some of our Connection service and also to be able to provide customers with same-day service opportunity, because at that time, our Connection service you had to book ahead of time. This is a premium on-demand, private, non-shared, same-day door-to-door service, much like an Uber or Lyft, but again, with that additional level of care provided by the operators. In both of these programs, customers must be certified as eligible under the guidelines of the Americans with Disabilities Act or our Transportation Disadvantaged program. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about what we've done with our Connection service, our shared ride Connection service. So over the last year, there has been an update to the software, an enhancement of our software in order to assure that we have efficient scheduling and that customers are getting to their appointments on time and in the most efficient way possible. We're also taking same-day reservations now on our Connection service. We've brought our Connection service in-house, so any concerns complaints or issues that customers have with connection, we do not leave that person with the contractor. We have brought those issues in-house so that we have eyes on exactly what the concerns are from that customer group. Then we go out, we do the research, we do the background check to find out exactly what occurred if someone has a issue arising on connection service. We've improved the fleet, so we've introduced 51 new vehicles into the fleet with more to come. And then again, we are reducing that fare within this pilot program from $3 to $2. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about what we've seen with our Connection Plus cost since we introduced this service. You can kind of see the escalation in cost of providing this service since 2022. I will let you know that in fiscal year 2019, when we launched the program, the cost was under $1 million at that time. So over the years, you can see there's been a 124% increase from FY22 to FY25. The projected cost of that service for this year, if we did not make adjustments, was going to be around $8 million. So to kind of break it down a little bit more, we've got two different costs associated with providing Connection Plus service. So those customers that require a wheelchair accessible vehicle, we're charged $55 for the first 8 miles and $3 per mile thereafter. And then for those that are our ambulatory customers, it's $25 for the first 5 miles and then $3 per mile thereafter. So if we take both of those categories of customers and we average out a cost per trip, we're looking at about $39 per trip. When we went to these public community meetings and we started hearing from the customers that they wanted us to keep Connection Plus, that they wanted to continue to utilize that service, we wanted to, whatever solution that we brought or whatever proposal that we brought back to the community, we wanted to ensure that it would cover the majority of those customers utilizing that service. So we took a look at the number of trips. We also took a look at the distance of how far our customers were traveling when utilizing Connection Plus. You can see here that 96% of our Connection Plus customers take 40 or less trips on a monthly basis. The average trip distance for our Connection Plus customers is 8 miles or less. So when we pivoted and we went back to the drawing board, we came back with and based on the information and looking at the data and how our customers travel, we came back with the $10 base charge for 8 miles and then $3.50 per mile thereafter, with a maximum of, initially it was 40 trips, but as you know, there are those 5th weeks in the month. And so we went ahead and increased that to ensure if people were utilizing this service to get to those vital places, those life-sustaining places such as, a job, medical appointments, that would accommodate that cap on a monthly basis. So just to kind of break this down a little bit further, our connection fare per mile under the current program, the JTA's base cost for ambulatory is $5 per mile, and it's $6.88 for our wheelchair customers. And then the customer pays towards that base right now 40 cents. Under this new proposal, the JTA cost to the base will stay the same. We're asking for our customers to pay 85 cents more towards that base cost per mile. And so with that, I want to open it up for questions. As Mr. Ford stated, I'm joined by not only him, but our Chief Operating Officer, Jeff Smith, and our Chief Financial Officer, Heather Agora.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Scheffler. The way it's going to work, I'm going to go to committee members first, then I'm going to make a few comments and questions, and then I'm going to go to our visiting colleagues. As of right now, I don't have any committee members in the queue. Are there any questions? Mr. Carlucci, Matt Carlucci, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So I saw, I took some pictures of the of your presentation. Do you have that in paper form?
Yes, sir. We'll get that to you.
Okay, I'd like to get a copy of that.
Absolutely.
So I had a friend send me a text this morning, as a matter of fact, asking about what the increased cost would be. Is there some percentage that you can give me about what the proposed increase under this pilot would be, percentage-wise, roundabout?
We can run those numbers for you and get it. We're happy to talk with that customer and find out exactly where they're going and how often they travel, if that would be helpful, and walk them through what those costs would be associated with continuing Connection Plus.
They're probably in that up to 16-mile range, and probably as many as 30 to 40 trips a month. Because of work, and they work next to where they go to church at.
Heather? We'll have Heather work on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Pittman.
First of all, thank you for being here today. I just want to say that I had an opportunity to attend one of the sessions at the Legend Center, and for you all to get feedback. Can you share with us in terms of what you heard in terms of across the city? Because I think you all went all over. I mean, of course, I'm representing District 10, but were there any similarities in concerns? And did you hear anyone say, I really can't afford it? And if there's any type of programs to help with those individuals, and I'm sure most of them are all on fixed incomes, but can you share a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. Some of the common themes across the community meetings that we received was, concern about losing the provider associated with Connection Plus. And we reassured the community that that particular provider is also a provider under our connection service as well. And so, we really wanted them to understand that same level of service that they have been used to, other than the private ride, that they would continue to get that customer service provided by, the current vendor that they were used to working with under Connection Plus. In addition to that, we also heard, just concern about how long is it going to take me to get to my destination. And so, we assured them, with this new software trip planning, with the information that we ran on our current system. So for December, we ran those numbers, and the timing on the vehicles, connection vehicles, was 26 minutes, Jeff, for December. Average time on a vehicle is 26 minutes. And so we really, we understand that there's concern about not having, being on board with another customer and getting to your destination on time and efficiently was important to the customers as well if they were going to go from utilizing the Connection Plus to our connection service, and that's what we really encouraged people to do, is to, if you've never tried our connection service, which again, 32% of our registered paratransit customers don't ride Connection. And so we are encouraging them to really try our Connection service. So those were kind of some of the, the common themes around, the feedback and the comments that we received.
I'm sorry, this 6 months pilot program. Have you all considered that as well?
Yes, we have our Jacksonville Transportation Advisory Group that meets on a monthly basis the second Monday of every month at 4 p.m. They can either attend that in person or they can also attend that through a virtual link. We will this subcommittee group that's meeting, that's made up of our board members. The information that we're providing to the community through that particular subcommittee is also going to be presented to our JTAC group. When we meet with them, they always give us feedback. We welcome their feedback. We want to know. We want to be able to know what their experience is and understand how we can continue to enhance our services on behalf of that community. So yes, and then of course the Mayor's Disability Council, we will continue to participate in those meetings and share the information with that group as well. We are a couple of the attendees, the Arc Village being in Councilmember Lannon's district. We actually are scheduled to meet with them today at 4 o'clock, the CEO. We do know that there are some synergies around where individuals, especially those concentrated areas where our paratransit customers live, how they travel is and where they're going is similar. So for example, the Arc Village has multiple different residents that leave the village in the morning and they come downtown to work. And so we're meeting with them to make those trips efficient. Those individuals know each other. There's a level of comfort in traveling, together with the people that you know. And so, the Arc Village, as well as any group that wants to meet with us, we are readily available and, willing to help them in, these types of transportation planning activities.
Councilmember Gaffney.
Thank you, and through the chair. Thank you, team, for coming down, JT. I appreciate you guys. I know this is it's been a hot button subject as of lately. I know I received a lot of calls from my office asking, is we gonna lose our paratransit rides? I guess the question I have, just for clarification, so are we, these disabled individuals, are we pushing them towards the connection and removing them from the paratransit? I'm just trying to get clarity.
No, Connection is our paratransit
Okay,
service.
so I'm confused. Okay. So yeah.
Yes.
So the paratransit is the connection.
Correct.
Okay, so I did
Correct.
say that correctly. Okay. Do we know the number of riders that ride daily through the chair?
I believe
we have them out.
Jeff, do you have the daily ridership for that? Okay. We've got it monthly right now, but we'll get it daily.
And then my other question, have you guys broken it down in towards, I guess, side of towns and districts? Does more people ride on certain sides of towns as opposed in different districts as opposed to other districts? It's just a clarification on my end. I just want to know to see how many individuals are riding it.
I believe this program is pretty distributed throughout the community, but we'll get you that information.
Yeah, okay. If you can. All right,
sure,
get back with
absolutely.
me. Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Gaffney. So I'll go next. A couple things here. First off, Councilman Carlucci talked about the cost, and it is significant. And I'd emailed you over the weekend. A constituent actually brought it up. We're a big city, right? And so my constituents, they're about 17 miles from Baptist downtown, about equal distance or about the same distance to Baptist South. So at that 17-mile mark, A lot of our Connection Plus users, they'll take a caregiver with them too, which my understanding is that cost is not changing. It's still $4 if your caregiver goes. But with the new structure, the math that this constituent came up with, and I agree with based on what I've seen previously, it was $28 for a round trip to Baptist downtown. It'll be $91 on the new structure. So that is a 3-time increase. Again, that's assuming they still want to use the Connection Plus. So just want to point out to Councilman Carlucci's point, that was the one example I used. What does it cost to get an elderly person that needs to go to Baptist downtown with his caregiver? So it is about 3 times what they're going to be paying right now. As far as the pilot program, could you just elaborate more, like what are you going to be looking at the next 6 months to know if you need to make further changes to either Connection Plus? I just kind of want to know what you're going to be looking at to see if this is the way it's going to be or if we need to pivot back. Just can you elaborate on that, please?
Sure, absolutely. So some of the performance indicators that we're going to be looking at is going to be on-time performance. So on our fixed route, on our Connection service, our Connection Plus service, we're going to be tracking the ridership to see how the ridership grows on both our fixed route as well as our Connection service. We're going to be looking at, in addition to on-time performance, we're going to be looking at the trip time. So what is our average trip time? So as people, move from Connection Plus to Connection, what is that? Are we seeing an elevation in how long our customers are having to be on vehicles? We don't anticipate that, but those are some of the indicators that we're going to be looking at to see, how this plays out. Again, the majority of our Connection customers or our paratransit customers only utilize Connection. And so we're really going to be looking at that 32% to see, how their travel changes as well, and how that's folded into the Connection service.
Okay, thank you. And we'll probably invite you back towards the end of that pilot program just to talk about lessons learned and any other potential pivots. One thing, you mentioned Arc Village and Connection Plus, it's been around for 2019. So for a lot of folks, that's a long time. That's 8 years. And you heard some of the parents of the adults with disabilities at that meeting express concern not only about the price. Price was actually less of a concern for a lot of the parents than the change. So again, I don't know all the mechanics, but effective February 1st, my understanding is there's a change that if you used to use Connection Plus, you're now going to order that ride differently. So what resources are out there? If I'm a user, if I'm a parent, like what resources? Is there a call center? I'm just worried that it's going to be chaos because people have been using it a certain way for 8 years. Now there's change, and they're not going to be able to set up their rides to get to work, doctor's appointments, et cetera.
Yeah, so typically the majority of our paratransit customers, they all plan their rides ahead of time. We do have some same day, but really the majority of our customers do plan ahead. So for those individuals that are that need to be at work at a certain time, that need to be at school at a certain time, we have that schedule ahead of time. So even the Connection Plus customers, they're not calling the day of typically are not calling the day of to get a ride into work. And so we know what those trip schedules are going to be and can plan accordingly and efficiently to make sure that we're getting them where they need to go at the point in time when they need to be there.
Okay, thank you. And I have a feeling all of us district council members will know pretty fast on February 1st whether it's working as we're hoping it will or not. Last thing I'll lead with, just for the future, again, this is a change in a constituent service, and we as district council members, we found out actually going through the quarterly financial summary. So it kind of came up as part of that. And so I know the board approved it back in December, but my understanding is the mayor's office actually didn't know anything about these changes until the same time that we did. That was the first week in January, because I can tell you most of my constituents, they're not using the ferry, they're not using the Navy, some may use the bus, but Connection is what I hear about the most, and usually with rave reviews on the service. So I think that's just the concern up here, that you had a program that was helping out a lot of our disabled community, elderly community, and we're just concerned about what changes is this going to mean to them. So just in the future, anything that's going to impact a constituent, just let us be part of that conversation ahead of time until we just hear about changes secondhand. With that, I'm going to go over to our guest members here. Councilmember Carlucci, I'm going to go to them for the first time, and then I'll come back to you since you're in the queue again. So the order is going to be Dr. Salem, Joe Carlucci, Councilmember Diamond, Councilmember Boylan. So Dr. Salem.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, JTA, for coming. Ms. Shepard, the first part of your presentation was just the general bus service, correct? And then
Yes,
you transitioned to connection then.
Correct.
I just want to make sure I understood what you were doing.
Yeah, with the exception of, just stating that part of our pilot fare change on our connection, it's our fixed route services, so where the rates were being lowered, so connection was part of that too, from the $3 to the $2. Yes, sir.
I got you. Is it my understanding that anyone that uses this service has to be evaluated prior to using the service?
Yes, sir. They have to be deemed eligible through the ADA program or the State Transportation Disadvantage Program.
Do they get a card or something that indicates that they're eligible now?
Yes, they receive their eligibility card for 3 years, and then they go back to.
And then that's funneled to you so that you have that on file?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay. Have you, since you go through that process with someone, have you all considered some type of income-based charging, since when you get that from that person when they first start the service, sort of to respond to a couple of my colleagues, have you considered some type of income-based evaluation and maybe tiering your costs to reflect their ability to pay?
We have not done that, and I'm not sure that we would be able to do that. Do you want to, Jeff?
Jeffrey Smith, Chief Operating Officer, thank you for your question. We can't do that under our connection, which mirrors our regular fixed route, but we can look at that under the TD service, Transportation Disadvantage, and we'll take a look at that.
I mean, I've heard from some of my colleagues that people want this service and will pay whatever to maintain it, but to hear that comment of the chair about someone's tripling, I mean, that's got to have a significant impact upon them. And I don't want to create a bureaucracy, and I don't want you to add 10 people to your staff in order to do this, but if it could be done in a way where, particularly as they come on for the first time and it's evaluated every 2 or 3 years or something, that may benefit a lot of people. Otherwise, I would think if someone can't afford it, if someone can't afford the service now, would they call your office, and how would you respond to that today?
I mean, we have low fares, and so we haven't really experienced that. It's not really been an issue that we've faced so far.
What I would think is, as you get into the new fares in February, I would think you're going to get some of those type of calls, and I hope you will collect that data.
Absolutely.
Which may give you some guidance on setting up some type of tiered approach. At least I would encourage you to do that. Mm-hmm. If I can move on, you said you're adding 51 vehicles. Who pays for those vehicles?
We receive grants associated with that, state of good repair type grants.
Okay, so it's not coming out of your particular, but it comes out of your budget, but it's grants that provide those dollars.
Correct, and I believe we do have a local match associated, a small local match associated with that.
The Connection Plus is run by a private company, is it not?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
So what do they charge you? If you're providing, if you provide the vehicles, do they just charge you for the people and that kind of thing? I'm just trying to understand the model.
Yep. They do provide their vehicles. We do not provide those vehicles under Connection Plus. Under Connection, we do provide those vehicles because of being a public transportation service.
So the people that
Share
drive the connection vehicles are your employees?
No, they are a private vendor, MV Transportation.
Okay, so they're your vehicles, private drivers, so you pay them some type of hourly or benefit package in order to be a connection driver?
That's correct. Under that contract, yes.
Under that contract. The Connection Plus, it's their vehicles, their drivers, and you pay some total fee for that service.
That's correct.
Okay. Can you, last question, because I know my colleagues have questions. Can you describe for me, you use the term ambulatory versus someone in a wheelchair. Can you give me, and excuse my ignorance here, but explain the ambulatory patient that would be using Connection Plus? Are they on a walker or something like that?
Thank you for that question. The difference is in the type of vehicle that they actually order when they go online for Connection Plus. Ambulatory would mean they don't need a wheelchair tie down and the lift and the whole 9 yards. So the WAVE vehicle comes equipped with the wheelchair tie down as well as a lift that'll lay down and let them roll onto it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. I'd also like to recognize Dr. Johnson, who's joined us this morning as a committee member. Joe Carlucci, you're recognized.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, JJ, for being here and kind of working with me prior to today. You know, I do think this caught kind of a lot of us off guard and sort of happened very, very quickly. So my first thought was ask Kara Tucker kind of what, you know, is going on over there, get with you guys, get the numbers like drilled in on specific daily counts and whatnot. I think for me, what I would like to see, I mean, look, it's a premium service. We get it. Sometimes premium services have to cost more, so it's sustainable. But I think the abruptness is a little too much for me and what I've just gotten from my constituents and apparently other districts as well. So I've kind of made a list of what I'd like you guys to consider and ultimately agree to. It is, you know, your proposal is four things. It's going from $6 to $10, which is kind of like the starting point. You're reducing it from 15 miles to 8 miles, and then $3.50 for an additional mile, and then 46 trip max. Those are the four, kind of conditions of the pilot program, and then potentially into the future. So what I would like to see is year one, it go, and this is during the pilot program, this is a not to exceed, kind of term. Year one goes from $6 to $8. And then year two, $8 to $10 if you evaluate it and that seems necessary. I don't want to give you carte blanche on $10 just because it's a number, but that kind of a 2-year phase-in approach just for the direct dollar amount. And then number two, 15 miles to 8 miles. While I saw your slide, it seems like there's a sharp drop after 8 miles. But I would like to see kind of a little bit of an additional cushion. So instead of 15 miles to 8, I would like it to go from 15 to 10. And then $3.50 additional mile, I'd like that to be $2 for an additional mile across the board, no year phase in. And then the max trip count, like that can stay the same. I'm fine with that. So that's sort of what I kind of want to get into and start chewing on is, look, February 1st is going to be here before we know it. So I think that would be, a little bit more palatable for the folks. And I think I've heard most reviews are, look, we get it. Like we can see the justification to pay more for a premium service. But I think with anything, I think we even did this with part of the garbage fee or part of another fee is, look, let's phase this in. I can tell you, Dr. Salmon, probably if you did a income-based approach, it would probably work in the opposite spectrum. And I think we can just kind of lay that aside and just say, look, it's going to be tough for these folks to to make that big of a jump. So those are my asks. I'd like y'all to consider those and ultimately give it a thumbs up if it's at all possible. So with that, I don't really have any other questions, but I'll just end on this. You know, I don't even really consider, this is definitely an essential service, but I think it's a critical service. Like this is non-negotiable service. It has nothing to, essential, sure, checkbox. Critical, absolutely. This is getting ladies and gentlemen with disabilities to their jobs. And I got to tell you, when the residents came down last council meeting, dude, that moved me like I've never been moved on this council. Normally, you know, people come down and say what they got to say. Man, after those two ladies spoke, I was, number one, I was kind of heated and upset. And then number two, I just felt like we got to do better. We got to do better. So this is my first shot at doing better. So with that, I'll end. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Carlucci. I do want to point out, I don't think you specifically said it, Ms. Shepler, but this is basically iteration 2 we're on now. January 8th is when Connection Prime, the decision was made Connection Plus, not to get rid of it, but to have a new rate structure. But like Councilman Carlucci just pointed out, I think all of us would very much be open to an iteration 3 that would potentially further lower the cost as well. So December, Connection Plus was going away, approved by the board. We didn't really find out about it until that first week of January. My district happened to have the first town hall. It was after that meeting, Connection Plus came back with the new fare schedule. So any future iteration, we would all welcome. Councilman Carlucci.
Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, if Ms. Shepler, you want to respond to any of that, I would love to hear your response. Thank you.
Sure. Through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci, I jotted down your request, and we will obviously consider that and look at what that, run those numbers and look to see how that would work and report back.
Okay. I'm a guy of timelines, so when will you let me know?
Well, when we pivoted the last time, it was relatively quickly, within about 24 hours. So we'll take a look at it and get back with you.
Okay.
Sir, this week.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate the expedited service. Okay.
Councilmember Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through the chair to Ms. Shepler. So first of all, thanks for taking the hot seat. It's not fun being up there. How much money do you expect to essentially save, or what is the divide between where we're doing now and between if you implement the new rate structure?
So we're really not looking at a true cost savings. What we're looking at is less of a subsidy from our general fund, which is our bus and bus facilities bucket, into our connection paratransit program.
Yeah, but how much
and that? Yeah.
What's the number? There's a number. You're not doing this because it's fun.
I'm getting to that. $3 million.
$3 million.
Anticipating. Yes.
Okay. All right. So through the chair to Ms. Shepler, how much money are you spending on Navi this year?
I believe it is $7 million.
$7 million
this
year.
So
almost twice as much. All right. Through the chair to Ms. Shepler, you understand that looks morally reprehensible, right? We're going to tell people whose arms and legs don't work that we're going to charge you more money to get to school and to work to have a life so that we can have an autonomous vehicle program downtown. How do we justify that to the people who elected us?
Through the chair to Councilmember Diamond, we operate all of our public transportation services, our fixed route, our connection service, now Navi, according to federal guidelines and agreements associated with being a public transportation agency. So, we operate those systems based on how a public transportation agency is expected to operate public transportation.
Sure. All right. Through the chair, Ms. Shepler, I love you, respect you. I don't think that you would support this change. I think most people at JTA don't support this change. I'll say to my colleagues, I don't think the board is asking the right questions right now. The board of JTA needs to ask these questions. I have friends on that board, people I love on that board. They need to ask more questions. Stop just approving everything on a consent. Ask questions. Why are we charging someone whose arms and legs don't work more to get to school or work or to the hospital? Why are we doing that? If it's $3 million, where in the city of Jacksonville can we find $3 million for someone whose arms and legs don't work? To me, I don't want you to respond. You can afterwards. I will give you all the time you want. I'm sure the chair will because it's fair. But this, to me, is crazy. This is crazy.
Okay.
I'll say to the council, we have power. This council has power to say no. We can ask the appointees that we approve to say no. We can also, during the budget process, fix this. You're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on an autonomous program no one wants, and we're saying, hey, you who are fully non-walking, we're going to charge you more to get to school or work. I know people think this is unfair, but these are the facts. I don't want to be on the council that says that's okay. I am the most conservative fiscally person on this council. I'm fine with spending $10, $20 million for these folks. I'll find it. Let's find the money. We don't do this. I see Mr. Ford's up there. Again, Ms. Shepler, I'm not trying to pick on you. Mr. Ford, this drives me crazy. What are you doing?
Through the chairman, I would just like to make this point. We try not to pit riders against each other. We try to balance all the services we have throughout the JTA's budget, everything from the sidewalks that we build connecting elementary schools to the roadway projects that we do to the bike lanes. This same argument that's being made respectfully could be made about the St. Johns River Ferry. The subsidy that the JTA provides for the St. Johns River Ferry versus what we provide to Ready Ride service, the Skyway, and the list goes on and on. We have to balance out the needs of today, and that's why the challenge of our connection service, connection's never going away. We've had connection for 30 plus years. The challenge is when we added this premium service that some members of our community can afford to utilize, they've utilized it, and in some cases, they've actually utilized it far more than we expected them to utilize it. It is a Uber-like service. It's like a private door-to-door trip, single ride. We're in public transportation. Our best efforts are through shared rides. Shared ride on a bus, shared ride on the Skyway, shared ride on the St. Johns River Ferry. This is a premium service. The original plan was to raise our fares. That's kind of Transit 101. After 7 years of not raising fares, recognizing affordability, the pandemic, and things of that nature, we felt, and we presented to our board of directors this summer, a fare increase, which we thought was justifiable and made perfect sense. Late in November, after really having some soul searching amongst the staff, we felt a fare increase across the board when we were having discussions about inflation and affordability across the country might have been the wrong way to go. So then a decision was made, very last minute, I agree. In November, before our December board meeting and the first board meeting in December, first week of December, we made a decision to do something totally out of the box, innovative in some ways, just like Navi, looking towards the future, using elasticity and using what typical private sector businesses do when they see ridership is stagnated and they have an opportunity. Why not lower fares, increase the number of people who are using our system, and thereby really actually bring in more revenue than we're actually bringing in now for our services? However, we could not do that at the same time of having this premium service that is overly subsidized. If you looked at comparison in terms of all of our other services, the subsidy here is far greater for, in fact, some customers who actually can afford a lot more. Even though they're disabled, and as the councilman said, they have no use of their arms and legs, or they are blind, or they are hearing impaired, or have some kind of cognitive disability. In this case, when we look at some of the demographics, these are customers that have been able to pay that $6 fare versus a $3 fare, and they pay that $6 fare because they can ride by themselves and they go door to door, and they're not part of that shared ride environment that the JTA is actually tasked in providing. This is a private type of service in terms of being delivered. So the strategy then was, okay, if we're going to lower fares, we've got to significantly reduce some of our subsidies for this premium service. The plan was eliminate Connection Plus. Jeff and his team have made some improvements in terms of the base connection service that we can provide some same-day services. After hearing the public outcry and recognizing that this was a fast pivot, a decision was made, you know what? Keep the connection service. Let's go ahead, keep the reduction in fare there. So we're going from $3 to $2 on our base connection service. That's never going to go away. That's federally mandated. But we didn't want to lower the fare for all of our customers and not lower it for our base connection riders. That suggested elimination of Connection Plus. Public outcry, we heard what you had to say as elected officials. We have made a pivot. The Connection Plus service will still be there. However, we have to pay a price for that service. Our customers have to share in that cost. The JTA has to share in the actual subsidy in terms of subsidizing the service. And we're working with our contractor to see what contribution they could bring to the table. So we are not abandoning the disabled community. In fact, we're giving them a discount on their fares. But there is a subset, 32% of our customers, that have gotten used to Connection Plus. We'll continue to provide Connection Plus, but we've got to get closer to the actual cost of the trip in terms of managing that subsidy. So our goings got to meet our comings. In terms of the revenues that we receive, and I think all of us in this room have recognized even sales tax revenues have gone down over the past few years based on our projections for actual sales tax revenues relative to our actual revenue stream. So we're all tightening our belts. This is a strategy to tighten our belt and at the same time not eliminate a service that is heavily subsidized as compared to our other public transportation customers.
Mr. Chair, I still have the floor.
Sure. I do want to point out to my colleagues we need to wrap this up in about 10 minutes. So Councilmember Diamond, and then Boylan, Carlucci, Johnson, and Mr. Delaney if we get through all those.
Okay. So first of all, Mr. Ford, you say that we don't pit riders against each other. Of course we do. We pit priorities against each other all the time. I'm going to pave this street and not that street. You're pitting my district against these other districts because we're further away from everything. If you don't have use of your arms and legs and you live in Atlantic Beach, like the lady 5 doors down from my mom who gets picked up literally every day, it's going to be more expensive for her to get to school and work. It just is. You are making her life more expensive by this. You're saying you're tightening your belt? Explain to me how hundreds of millions of dollars on Navi and this whole autonomous thing is tightening your belt. You're creating a whole new thing, spending all this money. If you didn't do Navi, would we have to increase these fares on the basically completely disabled people in Jacksonville?
The resident or your neighbor, they could ride Connection at a lower fare.
Hold on. Through the chair, this is someone who doesn't have use of their arms and legs.
That's our Connection.
You want to push them to Connection and not Connection Plus.
But we have 70% of our riders are on Connection in a wheelchair.
I understand that. Through the chair,
with disabilities.
Talk about Connection Plus, the one that these folks love, right? The one that gets them out of their house into a private vehicle and then sends them somewhere.
We are not private transportation. We're public transportation.
It didn't answer the question, and I'm done. Through the chair, if you cut Navi, could you keep Connection Plus fares the same? Would you save enough money?
No.
$7 million is not more than $3 million?
$7 million today, but possibly far less than that in the future. We are preparing for the future with Navi. Autonomous vehicles are coming. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
You're right, not yours.
And in fact,
Uber's
as it
here.
relates to this particular service, we'll be able to provide much more availability and flexibility and accessibility to the disabled community because one of the biggest cost drivers in public transportation is the operator. And with these new technologies, we're along with 60 other systems around the country, municipalities around the country that are going towards autonomous vehicles. Why? Because moving people more efficiently and more cost effectively is what's going to win the day in terms of competitiveness of cities and economic development. So whether we do Navi now, it's coming. And again, we don't want to pit one customer versus another. We don't do that at the JTA. We try to balance it out in terms of that customer who rides the ferry versus the customer that actually uses our bus services. When we start looking at the demographics across the city, we try to balance it out across distances.
This is word salad. This is morally wrong. That's a word salad. This is morally wrong.
We still have connection service available for every citizen in this community, and it's at a discounted fare starting on February 1st.
Councilmember Boylan. And we got about 5 minutes.
I'll keep it very brief, and thank you. I appreciate my colleagues' questions and concerns. Mr. Ford, while you're still there, Councilmember Diamond mentioned the role of the board in this process. I know Debbie Buckland has just stepped down as the chair. We've got a new chair. Speak, if you can, briefly on the role of the board in the vetting process.
Yes, and so I go back to Back in August of this year, we had our annual board retreat. We shared with them the actual rising costs as it relates to our operation, and the fares had not been increased in over 7 years. Our board gave us the go-ahead to actually start planning for a fare increase. That process would have started this month with public meetings leading to our budget development in the May-June timeframe, which we would present to you with a series of public meetings related to that fare increase. In late November, we actually, and recognizing the JTA is a state agency, we have a number of stakeholders that we have to discuss fare increases with. And the thought was, from a state perspective, raising fares, recognizing the challenge of affordability would not be the right thing for the JTA to do. With that input and guidance, we then went to the JTA board and basically shared with them another strategy. Lower our fares. That was in the board meeting in the first week of December. Lower our fares. However, lowering our fares, reducing our revenues, increasing our ridership, we do need to really look at this Connection Plus service that was growing by leaps and bounds and the heavy subsidy on that. So the board has been intimately involved in this process, and then in that December board meeting, they voted for us to move forward with a fare reduction. However, elimination of Connection Plus was part of that process. We meet tomorrow morning with our board of directors. They've been intimately involved in this process with the proposal of the 6-month pilot in the first week of December. The agreement and decision has been made for a special
We're not at
committee.
time, so but you're saying the board is intimately
They're
involved
intimately involved with
Thank
this.
you.
Yes.
A couple of comments very quickly, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the opportunity. Jessica, you mentioned, and I very much appreciate the fact you're meeting with the ARC today. I heard from a constituent that we see a lot of Connection Plus vehicles lined up at the ARC. We need to fix that. That's an efficiency issue that you need to deal with. Secondly, in the context of that, and perhaps leaning to some of the comments of my other colleagues, one of my constituents mentioned to me, my daughter who uses this service, it's a third of her day's pay. Now it's going to be half or more. And so the consequences are very real to a lot of folks out there. And the last comment, if I might make, and I appreciated Mr. Carlucci's comments with respect to taking a look at the possible reduction. When you bring back that report, let's talk about the consequences of doing that as well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Last speaker, Councilman Carlucci. I'll give you 2 minutes. Councilman Johnson is after you if you do not wish to speak. They do got the, okay. Any other council member speakers? My queue is empty as of now. My final 2 thoughts. Ms. Shepler, there are a lot of requests made. Councilman Carlucci, a few others made requests. I would ask, as you put those together, could you share it with all of the TEU committee? And then Councilmember Diamond talked about the board. I do hope the discussion that we had here today, that feedback gets back to the board. It'd be great if some of them even watched it, just so that was one of the council member Diamond's concerns. I just want to make sure that the board is in tune with what a district council member's concern about this has been as well. With that, we do thank you for your time, and we look forward to the open communications as we start this pilot program as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the TEU, visiting council members as well. Thank you very much.
And thank you as well to my visiting colleagues. Appreciate your thoughts and feedback. With that, we will get into our agenda. Do I have any public comment cards? Okay, no public comments. So we'll take up item 1, 2025-0871. That does have an amendment. Everything else is on second read, so I'll read them now. 2026-0001, item 3, 2026-0002, item 4, 2026-0003. Next page, we have items 5 and 6, which are 2026-0005 and 0033. And then item 7, last page, is 2026-0035. So with that, we are going to go to item 1, 2025. I got a motion. Can I get a second? Got a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Linsky, can you explain the amendment and also just remind us about this bill that we previously re-referred?
Yes, sir. Through the chair to the committee, this particular legislation was amended and re-referred last cycle to increase the Dunn and Braddock intersection road project appropriation to fully fund the project at $6 million. Also included in that amendment was a waiver of the code to allow for more than 20% of the account balance to be put towards this intersection project, as well as authorizing an agreement with the FDOT to construct the project at the, to construct the project. This particular amendment before you today revises and attaches the corrected agreement with FDOT to reflect the full $6 million that's being appropriated for this project.
Thank you. I have no one in the queue. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Amendment passes. Got motion second on the bill as amended. I have no one in the queue. Open the ballot, record your vote. You need to.
There you go. Thank you. 5 yeas, 0 nays.
By our actions, we have approved Bill 2025-0871. Committee members, anything else before we adjourn? Councilman Carlucci?
Thank you. I was going to make a comment during the JTA time, but I didn't have the time. I wanted you to have a chance to wrap it up. But I did want to make a comment, but I didn't want to politicize it. But I did want to make a comment because a long, long time ago, I was very involved in the issues of disability. As a young council member, when the People Mover was being built, and back in those days, 1988, 89, we were spending $100 million a mile for the People Mover, and nobody was riding it. We have come so far since that day with disabled transportation. You talk about seeing a couple of people in wheelchairs. I held a town meeting at the old city hall. We had probably 100 people in wheelchairs up there because disabled transportation was a mess. It was a huge mess. And so, and it wasn't operated by JTA. It was operated by a company we were contracting with at the time, and it was called DART, D-A-R-T. I can't remember what the acronym stood for. But quite successfully, I was able to get dollars appropriated for DART to expand its services by expressing my concern of the money we were spending on the People Mover, and that was moving about maybe 500 people a day to the probably close to 300 people we had. That was just a fraction of the people who were frustrated over the for the People Mover. So I wanted to somewhat echo one of the council members who I hoped would stay, but he left. He was frustrated. I know that feeling. And but I think that JTA would be well to look to see with the Navi program where perhaps they could find some savings to help mitigate the cost. I suspect there might be some there. There's savings everywhere you can look, but I don't want to politicize it. There may not be. But right now, they're not moving that many people, and it's very expensive. And to not even say, yes, we'll take a look at it, I think is the wrong answer. I think the right answer is, you know what? We might be in a chapter where we can do that right now. I think they're fairly mandated to be running those Navi vehicles up and down Bay Street because of a contract they have and the money they've gotten from grants from the federal government. So they have to be running those. But I'm sure there's maybe some discretionary or some other dollars that the JTA has that might at this point maybe could be moved over. But I would have liked to have heard them say, you know what, we'll take a look at that. And if there's anybody in the world of JTA that's still left here, I would have liked to have heard, you know, we'll take a look at it and see. And that's what I would urge them to do, and that's what I wanted to, that's what my comment would have been to them. So thank you for allowing me that little bit of time. It would have taken more than 2 minutes. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we have Councilmember Matt Carlucci and Diamond Alignment is what I heard. Got it. Ms. Pittman.
Councilman, through the chair to Councilman Carlucci, I want to say thank you for bringing that up. I don't think they said that they wouldn't. I think there were a lot of questions that they were asked right on the spot, and they may not could have answered those. I think she said she'll get back in 24 hours. Yeah. So I don't think we just need to throw everything out. I've had an opportunity to ask questions when I was there. Again, as I said, I want to give them an opportunity to see if there is a chance where they can either switch, budgets around. I know we're talking about apples and oranges right now, two different pieces of transportation, and not put them against each other. I'm like you, the Navy is a political hot potato right now, but I think what's important is the humanistic part of it and providing the transportation that's needed for the disabled. That's what's important right now, and I hope that we can come to a conclusion where we can find the dollars to provide some type of subsidy to help them. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Delaney? Did you have anything? I know you dropped off the last minute when JTA had to leave.
Thank you, Chair. But I just wanted to briefly comment on something you had brought up that it was news to the administration also when this change was made. I want to confirm that is accurate, but I also want to give JTA credit that they have been more ready to work with us on communication. We greatly appreciate that, trying to devise better mechanisms to stay in communication ahead of this kind of stuff, and I hope that they also will extend that to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. And I tried to reiterate, that's probably the single biggest lesson learned from the past couple of weeks. If there's going to be a constituent service impacted, we want to be part of the conversation and part of the communications plan. I have no one else in the queue, so Councilman Carlucci.
Last but not least, thank you, Mr. Chair, for having them up here. Very timely discussion, and it wouldn't happen unless you hadn't taken the leadership to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we are adjourned.